think that multiple times.
Yeah.
It was just so awesome.
Like I said, that is.
Yeah, yeah, it's, what do they call it, dissipating pulp or something like that.
Rich in the wrong county? Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The doors are still.
Okay. You get GPS on it?
I don't. I don't. Is that a guarantee, Nick? No.
It's a big flash Heidi alert. Call this meeting to order. First of all, motion to approve minutes.
I would approve with the one correction, John Mansky was not here last month.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Discussion anymore? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Before we go one step further, I'd like our HR person to introduce herself. We all know her, but there's people in, I told her, there's people in the room who come to every meeting, so you might as well introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Lynn Rosemeyer. I just started helping out here at Rusk County a couple weeks ago with HR. I live in Gilman. My husband and I have 2 adult sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and 5 grandchildren that keep me very busy, so that's me.
Okay, now we're to public comments. I was, let's make this a little simpler. Ideal time, maybe you wave at them when you got like 30 seconds left.
Okay.
Make it easier.
I wanted to raise the concern about the, damage to the Wilson Meadow ATV trail. I had, sent Jared an email, I wanna read that in case anybody hasn't seen it. Gary, I went to the Wilson Meadow Trail yesterday in response to a concern about the extensive damage done to it by logging equipment. What I found was about a quarter mile of severe rutting and churning of soil, gravel, and base material, and damage to signage. We had the trail nicely graded and crowned with proper signage in place, but now it needs to be reshaped, graded, and re-gravelled in the damaged areas, as well as sign replacement. We don't think this cost should come from our maintenance money, but from the entity that caused the damage. I learned today that the Forestry Department shut down the logging operation because of the damage, and I thought, thank God, somebody cares. The trail is limited to 3,000-pound vehicles or else a fine is imposed if violated. The club understands that trails can and will be used for all forestry operations, and all we've ever asked is that when damage is done to the trail, it will be put back to its original condition. This is the first time I've seen so much damage since we've had any trails. Please continue to safeguard our concerns, and thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, a couple questions on that. Any progress on a historical marker for up there on that same trail?
I looked for that photo that you talked about, but I could not find it, but I'm still looking for it.
It's a photo and a story,
Yeah,
the story with it.
okay. I'm not able to find it yet.
I ran into several people up there and told them about it. It's interesting.
I do remember
When you
seeing
actually
it.
look at it. The other one, can I see on the 9 and 10, I think it is? Are we gonna be able to speak up at that time?
Nope, not anymore, I guess, so. Committee only, after you get through monthly reports, discussion, possible action is committee only. That's the way I've been told, so.
So if any of us have any comments on the Warburg Trail and graveling, we can't, and we can only speak to you anyway, right?
Pardon?
We can only speak to you.
Yeah,
that's it?
well, yeah, it'll spread.
But we won't be able to speak up later on about nothing. Well, about this gravel on the new ATV trail, can that bond money that you must have confiscated, can that be used for trail maintenance or anything else? I assume you confiscated the bond, is that a fact?
That would be beyond me, no.
We have not,
Why not?
we haven't got that far yet. There's no need to it this time.
It's in the works.
I wouldn't say that.
Now you take the loggers' money when they don't perform, why would you take their money? They didn't perform, it's obvious.
Talking about Larry.
Hmm?
There is no bond for a graveling job.
What's the difference between performing for the county for graveling or performing cutting firewood with their logs?
Good question. We don't have a bond on that though.
Well, that's something we'll have to introduce somewhere down the road. We got highway committee here, figure that out somewhere along the line. You done, Don, now?
Well, no, but I'd like to speak up with that when you discuss it later on. I guess I'm done.
Bob?
At last month's meeting, and this goes back to the Wargor Trail, Mike said that the bridge was not gonna go in now until next summer. Now, I was under the understanding, and maybe there wasn't an actual date on it, but, when Owen sat here and this was about ending up the finish on the bridge or the painting, he said, I guess I better get to work so it's in by October, which I expected that to be in this year. And so, if the bridge is done, or what is the holdup, why the change? And the other part of the question is, so when we bid these jobs, whether it's the gravel job or the bridge jobs, why isn't there a completion date? And I retired from the power company when we went out and got contracts on a lot of our stuff. We had an end date and fines after that date that it wasn't done. So, I guess I'm kinda wondering why, again, like Don just said with the logging jobs, we've got a time period for logging jobs to be done. These jobs need to also have end dates on them. And I agree with George on the Wilson Meadow trails. I was on that and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. In the winter time, when the trail is froze down, you're not gonna damage the trail, but not in the warm months.
Anybody else? I saw some lady had, did you have your hand up, ma'am?
Yeah, so we're also here to talk about this trail, and we're the logging crew that everybody's talking about. But we were under the impression that we were actually on the agenda, so this is where we're talking, or are we waiting to a later spot in the meeting?
It will be in the closed session, correct? You'll be in the closed discussion and you'll be able to make your presentation then.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
As long as your time's not up.
Can I get a cost analysis on new trail? The new ATV trail, total cost, county, everything? A breakdown on it?
Fine by me.
Public record, so.
I can do it without going request on public records request, I can do it.
I would hope so.
Stop.
Anybody else? If not, then we'll go down to monthly reports. First be Parks and Rec.
Alright, we are currently shutting the water off to campgrounds this week. This will be that time of year. Next week, we plan to pull docks. That'll depend a little bit on the availability of highway department skid steer places to doing that for us, but I did talk with them. So I'm gonna touch base with them on Monday, see where they're at with that, but it is also time to be pulling docks. And then I've been scouting, a bit of a reroute on that new big old Bucks Lake Trail, to get around a pretty nasty hill. And there's a large culvert that would have to go in, but I think we can make that work. So I'm gonna be talking to George about that at some point here. And then also, before it freeze up, we need to get out on the Weirgore Trail and do a little bit of maintenance or clear some debris off the trail in preparation for the gravel to be hauled. And then also we should be marking some of the culverts that are there, all the culverts rather, ahead of that also, so. That's all I have.
Questions? Next, timber sales.
We're still fairly busy. A couple of timbers cutting their sale in the fire lane, hardwood thinning and overstory removal. Roger Hoyt has 3 sales going, one on Betty Lake Road, one on the fire lane, and one off the end of Fort Hill Road. Ted Struck is still plugging away. He's young on a lump sum popple sale. Shelterwood on Betty Lake Road, and then oak thinning on the county line off of 22nd Avenue. And he has 9 other sales that are in some form of hauling wood or medium burn wood. That's all I got.
Any questions for Dane? Jared?
Alright, you'll have to excuse my voice, I'll do my best. Highway skid steer, I met with them out there on River Road. We took care of those water bars that were an issue. Run down to a much lower level. I think they'll still perform as needed. I got some feedback from members of the Trails Committee. It sounded like they were happy with how they looked. DNR did a lot of mowing on the Lee Lake block, which is a rough grouse management unit. I think they used elk habitat money to do that, strangely, because it is also in the southern end of the northern elk range. They mowed 15 small openings and 8.3 miles of trail. We had a WCFA fall meeting. Bill, Dan, and I attended it, as well as Jake. Very, very good again, as usual. Some really good speakers, smart people, lots of knowledge there. Paul Segan talked about forest health concerns, especially the two-line chestnut borer, which is killing a lot of our oaks. If you see up on Betty Lake Road, you might notice a lot of dead oaks around that area. We suspected oak wilt, two-line chestnut borer, so he talked at length on some of that. Josh Spiegel, the elk biologist with the DNR, spoke on all things elk. Interesting as always. There was a gentleman, I didn't catch his name, spoke about the international forest products industry. That was pretty interesting. A lot of talk about China and Europe and how those markets play a role in our wood industry. A little above my head, but it was interesting to hear that perspective. There were some other speakers too. Those are the 3 that caught my ear the most. Anything to add on that, Phil? Was contacted and we were given a safety inspection from state of Wisconsin last week.
That's in our packet.
Yeah. Is that email in there or letter?
The letter, yeah.
It's a letter. We did very well, thanks to Dustin. Came in and worked very closely with me and a couple guys in my department, and everybody in the department picked up the pace and made sure everything was spick and span for Jane, is her name. He was pretty impressed and things went well with zero violations. I would note that Dustin told me he has over 30 clients. He has inspections all the time. This is only the second time he's had a zero violation inspection. Had a call with Anu, called carbon credit update. Things are moving forward on that. There's some good news. Another step was passed in our verification from the first year. It's looking like little over 2 million removal credits and 2.8 conservation credits. 2.8 million. Second reporting period ended in September. We got the email from Mingfei out in California about that, and we're working on getting our data all squared away to send to him for the second year worth. As far as our credits go from the first year, we're still hoping to be issued late this year with potential sales coming in early next year. We will be paid when a sale is made. Unless it's a very small sale, they might lump a few small sales and give us one payment. Larger sales though will just get paid as they happen, so it won't be like a once a year payment or like a series that's kind of preset. It'll be as sales occur.
So will we have like a tally of how many credits we have sitting there that are sellable, I guess?
Yeah, I'm sure that we get that pretty easy as the year progresses.
We can see there's how much in the bank that could potentially be sold.
I would think so. Yeah, they keep real tight tabs on all that. It was brought to my attention that 18% goes to a buffer pool. 18% of our credits. Now this is not 18% loss to us. It is a volume equivalent to 18% of ours. They'll buy cheaper credits at maybe 1/5 the cost of what ours are worth. Like from landfill credits or whatever, they're not as valuable. So they buy landfill credits to put into the buffer pool for us and still sell our credits at a higher rate. Help us make as much money as possible. Basically, when we make money, they make money. So they're doing everything they can to maximize that.
Do you talk with them on the phone or does he come here?
Yeah, this time it was a Zoom call. So I had video confirmation of their existence, which I've had before as well.
Cause I know Phil on finance committee, his ears perked up. Sometime down the road, once you get going into this, maybe he'll give us better explanations. Sometime.
Alright, that's about all I had.
Okay. No questions of Jared? Jay, I guess you're the public trails report?
Well, we've had, Bob and I have been doing some inspections. I know Don's been doing some pre-inspections, and, I've been having some productive conversations with Dane and Mike and Jared, and, Nick's been helping out when we need it, so we're gonna have, I think, 3 trails to move forward during the, recommendations. I don't know if you wanna handle that then or what.
That's the end of your, well, I guess it'd be down there.
It's short, we don't do much. Drive around out in the woods.
Is that the, I thought I saw some. Do we have a handout on them, or no?
All I have in here is the email with the 2 trail numbers that I received, that's it.
What we should have forwarded to you, correct? Yeah.
That's why I was confused, cause you said 3 and now there's 2.
Well, so there's one that's, Bob and apparently Mike have talked about that already has a drivable and crossable ford, but we haven't voted on it as a committee, but technically it's according to, if I understood Mike correctly, it's already a crossable ford there?
Yeah, it's an engineered Ford, so.
So technically it probably should have been open from the start, but, you know, it's a lot of information to gather up when you're dealing with thousands of trails.
It was done 20 years ago, so.
So that would be the third one, if you wanna do it here, or if you want us to take it back to the committee and.
I think it fit down under discussion, possible motion.
Okay.
End your report?
That's it?
Okay. Accept bids, winter hauling and spreading gravel.
Alright, first bid, Trinity Grading and Excavating, and they came in at $94,140. Next bid, Stout Construction, $77,432.
What was it, 77?
$77,432. Haas Incorporated came in at $60,152. $60,152. And then Monaco Grading came in at $50,040.
That's all of them?
That's all of them. This is the last one. Monaco Grading.
Grading is the company that failed to complete the job last winter. You can feel free to throw their bid out if you so desire. Good past performance.
And we do have a strong budget, so it won't hurt the budget at all to do.
Trinity's was 24,000.
Trinity's was 94,000. They were the highest. Yeah. But they were also the only ones to come out and look at the trail and have a bidding. And that was strongly suggested. I didn't meet with them, but I did meet with Trinity, so.
What's the committee think?
I mean, I would, say that if we've had this, I do remember Monaco bidding on it last time, was accepting that and it not happening. I would normally go with the lowest bidder, but I would almost say that we'd probably go with the next one based on the last, yeah, but due to the past performance, I'm going Haas.
Is there a second? Discussion. All in favor of the motion, going to the second place for past performance? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, now we're down to trail recommendations.
So the first one is one that somehow got missed that John had put on, John runs from BH 1328, comes off Kozak Lane, goes northwest. I'm sorry?
What was it, that was BH?
1328. I think there was there one more that we have? Is there another picture just by that also?
Scroll down.
Yeah, and this is an area that John runs from frequents, and he seemed to think they were fine and inspected them with his friends at some point. And brought it to the committee, and we looked at the pictures and there's several feet of coverage over that culvert.
Comments on 1328?
That's correct.
Appears to be functioning within BMPs. Looks good.
Should I just make motion to use for each one of them?
Yeah, oh, motion to add that to the open trails.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next one is BH 1241. It goes off of the corner off of W, heading, well, it starts going east and then crosses this active ATV trail and then goes east and north again. Or east and south probably, and then, yeah, a little bit of both.
Chair, and if you would allow, the reason there's so many dots there is I actually went out and walked this one, and about every, 100 feet or so, I just took a picture looking up and back down the trail. So that's why there's so many pictures on this one. Just so the committee would have an idea of what these trails look like.
And then Bob and I went on Sunday and inspected it. There was a culvert that had some leaves over the end of it, and I just kicked the leaves away, and the water was trickling through it already, but when we knocked the leaves away, it ran through there real well, so.
Presume this is an old logging road then? Nobody
I
knows.
assume so.
It's narrow, it's a connecting trail between the four-wheeler trail, and there's kind of a main trail further east that people go back and forth. Bob said he takes rides when he does the tours through there, so.
No issues found on these trails either. Ready approved.
I mean, it's narrow, but it's a fun ride. That once we clean that culvert, I don't expect to be any trouble. I mean, that trail's probably been there 50 years, it's just getting slightly narrower,
Might need to ride the edge a little bit wide now.
They get out of the Holstein cattle effect, see, spread out a little bit. It's rocky, I mean, it's basically pretty solid. I'm sure it's looked like that for 50 years.
I would just, if I could add a little bit more, I think, like I said, I walked the whole thing. If it's classified as low traffic, ATV only, I think it's a good trail. It would not sustain UTVs. There's just no reason that a UTV should be on that. Low volume ATV only.
Somebody care to make a motion?
Your reasoning for no UTVs weight or what?
Well, weight, width, and just the material that the trail is made of right now. It's just, it doesn't have a base to support that weight and the speed.
Well, I guess we set the rule, we can't talk.
Okay.
You can talk to Jay on the side and tell him.
I would say that being that UTVs are relatively new compared to ATVs, I don't disagree with them if you're gonna get these roving packs of jacked up, snorkeling, high treaded UTVs, but I think at some point we gotta figure out what's hunter access or, trip versus where we keep those other folks on those main trails. I think that if you maybe in my opinion, if you kept it open and did a watch on it in a year or something, one of those, to see if it's sustaining any damage, in my opinion, it's probably looked like that long term, but I agree with Nick that if it takes a whole bunch of traffic, but I don't know, the people that are riding, the bulk of them are staying out on the main roads, but I don't know, that's for you guys to decide. It looked fine, Bob and I drove through it. I mean, yeah, if 500 side-by-sides start driving through there every day, but so will every road, that's,
So if we open it up without any restrictions and for ATV or UTV, if the UTVs do enough damage to it, they could potentially be closed. So I guess that would be the question is, would the committee be willing to risk that? It sounds like not that many people drive down it that way anyways, or would they rather have that as ATV only, no UTV?
I think we as a committee are gonna have to start tackling those a little harder, especially if we're gonna get, I personally would leave the trail open and check on it next July or August and see what kind of traffic it's getting, and at that point, you change the sign and Nick does the.
Gee, if you was, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Gee, if you was up there, in your opinion, is it would it be a more heavily used through trail? Or is it gonna be more for hunter access or somebody made bear or something?
Well, I think that's what it's been used probably since it's been made. I mean, the trail was, at one time, semis drove down it. We have to keep that in mind. It's just narrowed down. You can look on some of those pictures where ATVs are driving it and, yeah, maybe some guy in there hunting bear or deer or, I don't know, squirrel hunting, who knows? I mean, it's public land, so it's a public access forest and the public should have access to their forest. So, in my opinion, we check on it in a year or next fall and see if and we're gonna have to check on all these at some point slowly, the ones that are up there in particular that are getting some usage, and we're gonna have to be really responsive as Bob and Don, who cover that ground steady, are gonna have to be pretty available to tell us what's happening. I mean, in the center block in Lee Lake, I'll keep my eyes on it, over east, Rod and Ross will have to do it, but I think people are utilizing it, but it's low traffic now. I think opening it isn't gonna get you any more traffic than it had previously.
Because it had been open previously.
Yeah, everything was open previously. I mean, if it's gonna cause us BMP problems then we have to start dialing it back, but I don't think there'd be any more traffic tomorrow than there was yesterday or last year.
I would think that if we open it now, if we re-inspected it to make sure that, in a year it hasn't, caused any issues. If it's caused issues, then I would say we'd have to reconsider.
Yeah, I mean, you can, through inspections, you can monitor that damage and get it restricted in some way, potentially to just ATVs reports damage to a point where you have to close it completely.
I think Bob said he drives through there several times a year, and you know. I think that at some point, if we're gonna be more restrictive and make it more hunter-gatherer, you know, access, we're gonna be on a bunch of just ATVs, but you're gonna get a bunch of flack right away if we aren't trying to keep as much in, you know, we're bringing 2 or 3 trails a month. It's not like we're bringing 100 trails. We're trying to pick and choose the really solid ones, and, you know, it's my opinion.
I would, make a motion to open page 1241, and then hope to monitor that one good. If something comes up, I'm sure we'll shut it down, but I mean, if it's been the same traffic for however long, that doesn't mean 2 weeks from now, that could suddenly become a tourist hotspot, and then it could change things, but as is of right now, I would, make the motion to open it. ATVs, UTVs.
John second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
And Sheriff, if I could, one other thing, and I just bring up this point just to be thinking about. Heidi, if you can click on this, this. What I wanna bring up is one location, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there was one location where, and again, I bring it up just so that we're aware of and thinking about it, is there was a location where there were some trees that had fallen across the trail. The issue is when that happens, folks aren't going to stop and cut the trees out of the way. And there was one location where there's evidence of that. Somebody had ridden around the tree off into the woods to get around instead of taking care of the trees on the trails. I bring it up because it's something we need to consider, that if there is trees down on these trails, folks are not gonna stop and clear the trail. They're gonna drive around it through the woods, so.
That's probably something to consider on all trails, that we'll need to keep them clear, because like you said, if I'm driving along, I don't got my chainsaw or whatever, go around it, so.
Right, and that concerns me, is that people are just gonna drive off through the woods, which we don't.
And maybe we need to look in the future, a better way to keep them clear or something too.
I just, Bob said that the trail had not been cleared, but from the time Nick had went in there to the time we went in there, someone had cut part of that trail, some of the brush out of the trail, and that was only a week's time, but I imagine people are getting ready to start gearing up for the bow hunting, and so they're starting to utilize it more, but he's exactly right. If they start going around, we have to just make sure that the public, I mean, like the ski trail is cleaning their stuff, and the snowmobile trail is cleaning their stuff, and the ATV people, we have to make sure that people understand that it's okay to throw a branch out of the road or something too, because, you know, we're all part owners of the forest. Is BH 451. This is where the new trail is expected to go through in the next few years. Right off the end of 3 Lakes Road.
Didn't have a picture there, I put a point there just so we knew where the location was.
And Don brought that to our attention, and that Mike agreed that is already an approved ford. The trail is open to both sides of the creek already, and, but there was a little red dot, but apparently And honestly, this is not one I've inspected, so Don has been there, Bob has been there, no doubt, but it's already open, so I don't think it's, you know, it's a legit crossing already, so I don't see why, unless someone has a need or want for us to go up there.
The end of 3 Lakes Road, like we to see that?
Yeah, right there where that white dot is.
Two binoculars. 2 for an eye.
Like says the Forestry.
It has an approved crossing.
And this is where the new trail's gonna go in, what, it'll take a year, 2 or 3 years?
Right, so if it needs to be updated a little bit, we can do that at that time, but right now, I mean, it's functioning fine, I was out there. Didn't have any problem with it, so.
Make a motion to approve this BH 450.
Second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. ESL contract renewal?
Budget, 3.
Jared, you taking that, or?
Oh, I think last month Terry mentioned that he wanted to take things over. Essentially. Something there.
2% of all the contract. I think you are correct.
You had expressed concerns with the market and people not being able to move hard with all than other cars.
There's something else. I'm trying to remember just where I was going.
Are you timing us?
Time's up.
That was, where I'm going with it, if I remember right. And there's a gentleman sitting here, Phil, that could probably add in to what say, very shaky to scary. And thanks to Cherry, it didn't win anything where I'm going. To get to a position with, I know we gotta sell timber, that's our goal, cut. But get to a position where we ain't got 10,000 cord of wood sitting in the woods that these guys can't get rid of, and now it's gonna sit there and rot. Do I have an answer for that? No, I don't. If I may ask a question of a gentleman, Travis, you moving up pulpwood. What is the, should I say, forecasted outlook of getting rid of hardwood pulpwood?
Why don't you ask Henry, he'd be the one to.
Well, that's true too, either one, for that matter.
Well, I just spent a day and a half up in Duluth with like most of the wood buyers, like all of them, at a FRA meeting. It's kind of going from bad to worse. We had presentations from different groups that are very acquainted with the global markets and stuff and what's going on. Log prices have dropped quite a bit and lumber prices are down. And we have an influx of things coming from Vietnam, apparently, that's having an impact on the market. And I got 2 calls actually driving down here from Duluth that LP is dropping $2 a ton again. And guys are just had enough. They're like, what are we gonna do? And I'm pretty sure our membership's gonna drop next year. We dropped 2% this year, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna drop some more next year because guys just don't have anywhere to go with the wood. Billerud over on the eastern side of the state, they're the major player for getting rid of hardwood and stuff, and they're still operating at 50% of their capacity for purchasing wood and for product that they're selling. LP's trying to make some adjustments. Potlatch Deltic, a lot of pine goes to that mill up there. They're gonna buy probably the same amount next year that they bought this year. Domtar's gonna buy the same amount next year that they bought this year. They all wanna increase that, but they don't have the market capabilities of selling their product to do that. So it's not getting any better. And the prediction now is that a lot of guys wait for winter to come and hope that they're gonna get a big spurt of production during the winter, and they don't think that's gonna happen this winter. So, but I can tell you, equipment sales are down quite a bit. I've only heard of a few repossessions so far. At this meeting, there's financial people there from Compeer and different places, so it's not the greatest, outlook in the world, but that's what it is, so that's what's gotta be dealt with.
Why don't you introduce yourself, Henry, for the people in the room that don't know you?
Yeah, I'm Henry Schennebeck, was a 32-year self-employed logger trucker, and now I work for Great Lakes Timber Professionals Association. We represent about 1,000 members, both Michigan and Wisconsin, loggers, truckers, mills, school districts, some townships, county road commissions, you name it. If it's got something to do with forestry, they're members of the association, so. Everything revolves around trees, right?
Suppose we could get our 550 million the brewers get for a pulp mill up here.
Well, I have those discussions quite often, and when they bring that up, I say, well, can't you give us 550 million for local roads? Isn't that just as important as what going to a ball game is? We fight, we work all the time to get money for local roads, and if we don't have roads, we can't get the product out of the woods. It's the bottom line, so. Having
Henry,
trees and having access to them.
Henry, is it a paperless society? Is it product coming in from overseas or South America? Just a loss of magazine? What is the main?
There really is no one main thing. There's some mills converting right now that are going to boxboard or containerboard. But that all takes time for them to convert, you know, Billerud's gonna be putting up 1.06 billion into their mill in Escanaba. That's not gonna be finished till 26. If it's finished by then, and that all depends on what they can get for parts and how fast they can get it moving. You know, I mean, there's discussion about biochar, you name it, there's all kinds of different products, there's discussion about cross-laminated timber, but those markets do not consume the amount of wood that a pulp mill consumes. They just don't. You know, Wisconsin Rapids, that was 750,000 cords a year. And then Duluth closed at the same time, so there goes the balsa market, and then we had a little bit of a market down at Buren with Nine Dragons. Well, now they stopped buying pulp and they're doing all recycled. So that market's gone as well. I mean, the softwood market, that's worse than hardwood and aspen even. There really is no place to go with pine pulpwood right now. You know, if you can make a post out of it or something like that. And we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in the biomass consumption. So a couple of the companies are really into renewable fuels. But then we have some issues there with legislatures recognizing woody biomass as a renewable fuel. What is wood, right? What is carbon? So everybody's talking about carbon-free legislation and everything. Well, we breathe, we produce carbon, right? So, you know, but at least that's renewable. Trees are renewable. But all these things seem to be taking time, you know. So we've got the downturn in the housing market. One of the things that they talked about in one of the studies from Forest to Market is that I'm sure you have all noticed tourism is absolutely booming. There's people in cars everywhere, right? Well, they're spending money on tourism, they're not spending money on their homes. They're not spending money rebuilding their homes or fixing things on their homes. They're putting all their money on credit cards, going on trips and doing those kinds of things. They were locked up for a couple of years, so now they're out doing vacations and camping and doing all those kinds of things, and that's had a huge impact on building supplies, you know, like siding and OSB board and that kind of thing. And just it's kind of a societal change. And white paper, you know, in Wisconsin has the largest printing and labeling business in the nation. We're still the #1 paper making state, but we've seen a big decline in that. So, I mean, we're fortunate that we have the mills that we do have, and PCA is probably the only mill that's been doing pretty good from our perspective. They've been buying wood right along, but they're making container board, and there's a little bit of an uptick in the box board, box industry that dipped off for probably about 6 or 8 months. Now it's coming back up a little bit, but they don't buy softwood there, they buy hardwood and aspen and oak. So we're lucky we have that market. That's probably the only one that's been doing good. So
do you want to just recycle this until next month, Terry, or?
I don't know that we got a choice, cause I guess I don't know that there's a good answer to this. Like I said, I just don't wanna see, you know, rank upon rank of woods, of wood in the woods, and no market for it. And then, what do you got? You got a rotten pile of junk that you can't use for nothing.
Bill, can I just add one more thing? So one of the things that I've been working on with American Loggers Council is trying to figure out, you know, we hear about the loss to the industry and that kind of thing. We're trying to figure out what the loss is to the loggers and the landowners when they have to leave the wood piled up for a long period of time. Because most of that wood goes by weight now. When you're cutting logs and cutting wood and you're piling up pulpwood, because you have to have it cut to get your barn back and all those kinds of things. But all summer long, if you cut that in the winter or cut it in the spring, it's sitting there May, June, July, August, sometimes 6, 7 months or more. And it's losing weight that whole time. We're trying to figure out what is that weight loss, because as that happens, you get paid by the ton, right? So if you're, the green ton versus the dry ton, they're losing a lot of money in the meantime. So we're trying to quantify that to make a point that, you know, there used to be used to be when I hauled into PCA, they had a dry weight and a green weight. Well, they did away with all the dry weights, it's all green weight now. But I'm losing money if my wood sits for 6 or 8 months, I could be losing 800 pounds to a quart, easy. So we're trying to figure out how to quantify that.
Selling less water at that point, it's dry now.
Right, and there's no price premium for dry wood.
And Henry, what is the point that, we dealt with Sappy when I worked in the industry and some with, mostly with Rapids, a little bit with PCA. But there's a point when there ain't enough moisture in that wood for the mill to utilize it too, and where does that come into play?
That, I think that's when it gets so dry to the point, so like LP, they need some green wood to mix in because otherwise they have problems with debarking and mixing that fiber together. And that's usually like a eight month period. As far as the paper goes, I think they can get some value out of it unless it's complete mush and it hits the debarker and just disintegrates. But I don't really know the exact answer to that question. You're welcome.
We'll just let Henry talk, because he's both for the loggers and responsible back to the county, so that's why I referred it to Henry. So, stick with our policy of not having the audience talk, but Henry's a special thing for this, so.
There's no answers here today for this, but.
You wanna just have this listed as a monthly thing and maybe something might pop up?
We might have to.
Just roll it month and month,
Okay.
because we can't predict it.
Yeah. Review of vehicle ordinance?
Talked to, Dylan. Lyle skateboard. About trucks parking, off the main road on, say, closed Woods Road. And his take on it was that anyone park a couple car lengths in, like, there's no way they're getting a ticket unless there's something else going on, like they're spinning around causing trouble or something. He said it'd be unreasonable. He thinks all his colleagues would agree that it'd be unreasonable to ticket someone for parking off the road into a Woods Road that is otherwise closed. He also thought if we would say something like park in there up to so far in, then people are just gonna go ahead and push that out to 100 yards because, well, I thought I'd get out of sight or something like that.
But then the other thing is if we don't put it in there, who are we punishing? The person that's obeying the letter, you know what I mean? Because if somebody goes off and they just know that they're not gonna get a ticket, but then the next guy's like, this is the rules, and then we expect the people to follow the rules. I don't know, I guess there's two different ways to look at that. You know, if you do it, people are always gonna push the envelope, right? But then the other side is, if you don't do it, have it in there, then you're only punishing the person who's abiding by the rules.
Phil, maybe you're in a better situation in this position, leave it up to the discretion of the warden, because he's the one that's gonna, you know, if somebody pushed the limit, and they are way out there, like you said, you know, 2-3 vehicle lengths, you're parked fine.
Everybody thinks in black and white.
Disagree with you, but there's another side.
Not that I'm an expert in the Blue Hills, but there's a whole lot of area there where you can park off to the side and stay out of the lane of traffic. Just leave it up to the warden and for now and see if we have more problems or needs anything back to us, or what do we wanna do?
That's my opinion, Phil, but I'm one person here.
I'm gonna agree with Terry, just, pick our battles, take care of it. Sounds good. Gets pushed.
Just one question, how many wardens do we have for Rusk County?
I'm not sure, cause Dylan's moving to Barron County, so for now, he's still covering a portion of Rusk County, so not sure who's covering the rest.
I think that kinda depends on what day and what's going on, Phil.
Nobody else, anything else on that for now? This is like cabinet purchase?
So we were approved to purchase up to $2,000. After basically running our credit card, we were notified that it would be over by $88.63 due to freight. So we need an approval for that additional $88.63 for the beautiful cabinet that was delivered today.
Return it.
Okay, I will call.
Return the crate.
Where'd it come from?
Forestry supplies.
$98 a shipping?
So that's, we ordered it through, but they basically came directly from overseas. They didn't have any here, so, yeah.
Well, that's cheap, Jared.
LTL to ship something weighs it.
Had some fast.
Motion on the additional $88.63. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried.
Go on the property agenda next, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
it's like
approved
that,
on
too,
the
yeah.
same moment property, so we're done. As well.
Access permit?
We talked last month after questions about our private land access permit. In particular, one gentleman was wondering about his son or something, or his friend coming in.
Yeah, son and brother.
Into his property, how that would work. So I talked with Rich on this and worked with him for some changes. It's in your packet, with orange highlights on it. So what's done here was recommended by Rich, and it should be good to go for them and everybody else in the future.
Yeah.
So, and designated, so he can designate who he wants to be allowed in on his permit. Also added, by Rich's recommendation, the recent changes and water rate stuff that we, been under the gun on. Any wetland, stream, or water crossing permits, and all associated work and maintenance are the responsibility of the permittee. The next paragraph I highlighted, it was just kind of reworded, didn't really change the meaning. It just ensures that they can't close that.
It's not their own private.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, this other one, here too, says, it's your responsibility.
Friday before Memorial Day, it changed, that said June 1st, I think it said, which was the old, guild date from years ago that we used on that. On the second page, Rich dug around in some state law guidance stuff on the general county court stuff, things, and, we should be doing any agreements over 10 years, so this permit is valid for 10 calendar years from the date of issuance. They can just get it renewed every 10 years.
It's just, you got two conditions down there that, the owner may terminate the permit. I would like to see a third one in there, and that, unless I missed it in here somewhere. That this agreement is terminated should the land be sold. The new landowner would have to come How did I miss it? Did I?
Yeah.
The permittee,
Number two.
permittee would be the person who signed up for the permit, right, and designees. So I think technically that's covered because the permit wouldn't be written for the new landowner.
Right.
That's true. I want to see something else.
Third paragraph down below, insert township in the section. Permit may not be assigned or transferred.
Okay, I missed it, I skipped over it, Bill.
I did too, it took me a while to find it.
Cool.
I would so move the changes made.
Is there a second? Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
We will move forward with this new permit then, and Dan Krisick, I think, was the man, he will get one. Cause you guys approved that last month.
And then this will be our new, permit platform.
Yep.
The pavilion use, Jared called me on that because somebody wanted, a religious group wanted to use it. So I said, go ahead and let them, because we've done that in the past, unless we wanna change policy. Okay, so we would need a motion to allow that, I guess.
So move it.
Second. Discussion? You're gonna run out of room. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Mileage reimbursement for Trails Committee.
So, what we approved before when we brought up, the Trails Committee was we approved, like we do for our committees, when we show up to the committee, we get the, meeting per year. But they're doing a lot of traveling around to get to these trails and stuff. So I would like to recommend, we'll have to send it to the board, but I'd like to recommend that we reimburse their mileage for traveling to these sites, cause I mean, we're asking a lot of traveling to inspect all these trails, and I don't want people to be discouraged from checking out trails because they're, not hundreds of miles. I think that we should, give the mileage reimbursement for also, doing trail inspections.
So they have to go from us through finance too, wouldn't it, along the way?
And then probably the full board.
Yeah, then the
It would definitely.
Actually, is that correct? Is that for the full board?
Yeah.
So I guess I would like to, have us recommend it to finance. Would that normally go to finance? Probably so. I would recommend that to, finance approves that, and that's another board.
Is there a second? Is there more discussion?
Actually, would you recommend it in a form of a resolution, probably, right?
Yes, because I think technically you would be amending an ordinance. So yes.
Yes, Heidi, you could start to work on a resolution.
Okay, so you'll make the motion and we'll look at the resolution and sign it later. If that works?
Or even, I mean, if Heidi puts something together and forwards it to finance, we talked about it, we write a resolution.
Well, she'd still send us a copy of it then. Discussion, all in favor, you got a second.
So,
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Wilson Meadows Trail, Virgin Gravel.
This is your phone call. When you call me.
speak if he's recognized by the chair.
I didn't catch what you thought.
Someone can speak if you recognize them.
Does anybody have any problems with Don Mansky talking? Limited?
Okay, and that, Wilson Meadow Trail, where the waters did all this supposed damage, how come they were given permission to even go in there when it's soft? That shouldn't be their responsibility, and you made them move out at their expense. I don't think the onus is on the logger, it's on whoever gave them the permission to go in there now.
Well, I think we'll get back into that at closed session.
You all can't talk about that?
Yeah,
You can talk about that?
You can talk about what's on the agenda.
On the agenda.
Yeah.
That's the Wilson Meadow Trail,
Bridge and gravel.
bridge and gravel, it says here.
That's the way we decided, it's been told we're gonna play it, so you'd have to limit yourself to bridge and gravel.
I'm not sure what the bridge is. The new trail, not getting the bridge in, but that's nothing on the Wilson Meadow Trail, the gravel and the damage to it. How they gonna, they don't use helicopters. And they actually, how's the public supposed to address the board on these issues? You discuss it this month, but next month you gotta come back and remember, to get on the agenda? That's not all the Robert's rules.
Well, that's why I had you talk to a board member to put it on there.
I did, that's the Terry.
The thing was then, they should be responsible to bring your, in this part of it, should be responsible to bring it forward. Make sure you put down exactly what you wanna talk about.
All I can say then is I repeat, I don't think the onus is on the logger, it's on whoever gave permission to go in there on wet ground and, it's winter work. Is it the fact that his contract maybe ends the end of the month or something? Why don't you just let him do it when it's froze?
Well, that's something we'll be discussing, I'm sure. Nothing else on that, the Weirgord ATV trail? I don't know where that one came from either. As I told the committee in the beginning, if you want something on the agenda, put it on, you don't have to go through me, because each one of our votes is the same value. So, if something goes on, I hope somebody puts it on there and claims it.
Can I speak to that?
That was the same phone call. Listen to.
I don't done, okay, I made the phone call to put these on. I don't have enough information to sit here and speak about it, Phil. It's that simple. Don brought it to me. He was the one up there. I am not up in that country. Although I am Don's representative, there's 30 miles that I don't get up on these ATV trails. I don't ride them. That's not my game. But one of my constituents asked me to put this on the agenda, if they could say their piece on it. That's what I did.
My part on the ATV trail is a gravel way that was on a bond. I guess that was a question on that.
Why what?
Why did that guy that was doing the gravel last winter not have a bond that you guys confiscated? And what can that money be used for now for maintenance?
Something will have to be looked into, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is, never to my knowledge has there been a bond,
But you're eager to take the logger's bond. He should have one too.
Well, you got 5 people to bug about it. John's available.
Pile it on.
If nothing else, we will go to the back page. Here's our prospectus.
As you know, we opened bids in November, so here's the timber sale. Maps and stuff is there for you to look at. There was one sale in addition that we had to pull out because last minute someone found some hawk nests in there. We need to verify what kind of bird lives there, depending on if it's a certain type of a bird. We may have to do 2 30-plus acre exclusions, pretty much eliminates that sale, so. Guess I'm hoping for a different type of bird than what that might be. So that one's not here, but,
that's not what's there.
that's correct.
So is there anything you wanna talk about the prospectus, or you just wanna go to the bid?
No.
Oh, okay, that's right, okay. Heidi bugged me.
Yeah, so if you go.
Whether opening the bids should be part of our meeting sending it out, or they should be open and presented to us that afternoon. Who's questioning that?
Whether or not we wanna do timber sale bid opening maybe in the morning, and then we can bring you the results and you can,
Oh, instead of us sitting through
or,
the Forestry.
We still see everything, but
Ashley, don't it have to be open in front of the committee?
That I don't know. Timber sales are exempt from most of our financial procedures because they're so unique. I'm guessing that policy is set by this committee. I don't know that for sure.
Checked on it. I personally would have an objection to, if you just brought us a spreadsheet rather than going through the whole, so they just set them
we
up
can
there.
just print the, bid results so that you would have that.
Yeah, and we could just look at it, okay, here's the highest bid, here's the other bids on there. I would be okay with that as long as it fits within our procedures, if we could.
well, when she brought it up, I thought, well, 4 out of 5, you guys are working during the day. Try and condense this down, it's up to you.
I'm okay with shorter meetings.
Years ago.
I think so.
Years ago, where we just opened them up the day before. But they had to keep the meeting, when you open them, open to the public.
Yeah.
People can come.
I guess I would have no problem with it either, if as long as it's run past wrench and there's no way we can get our backside in some kind of a jam, then I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Right, all I can find in state statute is that it needs to be a sealed bid. No language I'm finding on who opens the bid.
Then it would have to be listed as a meeting.
If there's a quorum of this, yes.
Well, I think you're asking though is if the public needs to be able to
How do
say.
you notify the public?
So if we'd have to post a meeting, so even if Forestry is doing it, we'd still have to post a meeting that, so they can see, here's the bids actually being open.
Be like us going to Trempealeau, meeting of so-and-so, no actions will be made at this, is what we
Action taken.
similar to what we published for going, county. Because you definitely want public notification if you're switching. So let somebody run that past Rich and see if we can do it.
So what we're saying there is opening the bids and stuff beforehand, instead of doing it here.
Yeah.
And taking 2 hours of our committee meeting to do it, yeah.
Well, I got time to kill. Hours is nothing to me. You know, like a candy cane store, I wanna see the bids here come out of the envelope.
Well, but if they were open or before, you could still attend that meeting.
Yeah.
Or is that a?
Do it here,
It's
then
2
why
days
can't
away
we call
from work,
another meeting?
just like it would be me.
Just do it here anyways. Instead of having to call another meeting and have to come 2 days in a row.
It doesn't bother me that much to do it here either, but I guess either way is fine by me.
Had them open before, spreadsheet, I remember doing it before, it was a long time ago, but.
Well, why'd they change over to doing it this way then, do you remember?
Probably somebody would like to see the bids being open.
I know when I put a bid in, I always show up, because I always see that bid come out of that envelope.
Well, you could still show up to that, but it's the forestry department doing it, the committee ain't here.
I get it.
And they bring the results to the forestry meeting, and we approve, we go through, if there's any objections, we accept all high bidders, unless there's a conflict with one, we might do. So we wouldn't have to sit through the 2 hours that.
I got time to kill.
Sometimes you need clarification, also you need to contact these bidders to see if you have questions about it, so it gives you an opportunity to do that.
That's right.
Necessarily wouldn't be a meeting, it would just be a bid opening, bids would be later approved by the forestry committee.
Doesn't say there can't be a mistake made, but you want to obviously at least you did the process correctly.
Almost basically, it looks like it's coming down to you three to decide if you wanna do it or not.
I'm good either way.
You know, after John speaking there. I think I'm gonna say, you know, I agree with John. I'm already here.
Well, then I'm gonna go with Jerry, so you guys break the tie.
Yeah. I wanna open early.
If it's gonna screw up people's work schedule, I would support having the opening beforehand. That's all I can say.
It makes no difference to me, cause I'm already off for this meeting.
Yeah.
If I did wanna see the bids, I would have to take another day off to come in on that opening. So for me, as a working man, it's not about that they're open in the meeting.
Apparently it is for those two.
It is for me, especially.
For me, it doesn't really make a difference.
Well, we don't have to be there.
No.
Take it up, that's right. I'm not gonna come on another day, but if it happens another day, I trust that it'll be right.
If we did it at 9 o'clock in the morning, it would be ready by 3 o'clock in the afternoon for us to approve it. We're still approving it.
Well, it looks like by the discussion, it's going to remain as is. If somebody wants to make a motion to change it.
I'll make a motion to change it to bid opening at 9 o'clock with the forestry committee, anybody can be present. And then approval of the bill, later that day at the forestry meeting.
I'll second that one, just to get it out there. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye, opposed?
No.
Did I hear you?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make that much of a difference to me. I know, I was trying to get rid of that.
He was trying to pass pass the buck, that didn't work.
Trying to do that, cause honestly, well, it doesn't really make that much of a difference to me.
Decision?
I'm not opposed to either, if it makes, definitely a difference for somebody not being here for the bid opening. Might as well keep it as is.
So which side of the motion are you with, yes or no? I wanna put words in your mouth.
I'll stay with, no, keep it as is.
Motion failed. Okay, so we got the yellow filled in now.
So what time are we doing the actual, so meeting starts at 3, what time are we doing?
As far as I'm concerned, you can do that right away, as far as I'm concerned, after the minutes are
3
read.
o'clock before public comment, you doing it at 3:30, you want it at, it's moved around so much within a meeting that we need to, I don't know what you want for time.
I would suggest right away, because otherwise we have to have someone sitting in our office waiting in case people.
I was gonna say, why don't we just kick them open right away? It doesn't keep anybody from sitting here for 5 hours.
Well, do you want, so if somebody comes here for public comment, and they gotta sit through 2 hours of bid opening, and they don't care about the bid openings,
So should we do it after public comment and everything?
but then how do we know how long public comment is, because they're limited to
Well,
5
it's,
minutes of person.
no, it's limited to 3. It's 3. 3 minutes.
Bid closes at 3, bid opening 3:30.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Guess next up is advertise for timber sales.
Just get.
So move.
Second discussion on any of it? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. Anything else before we go into closed session? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, para 1, para C, for considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, in order to discuss public correspondence more appropriately discussed in a closed session. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Gary?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.